Hello, sports lovers. Welcome to Med Sports TV, and I'm Med. Today's episode, I'm going to talk about Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury fight. The fight that has been postponed 2 times is finally on. The battle for social media dominance is on in the Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Who is going to come out the victor? I think Jake Paul would be knocked out in the 7th round by Tommy Fury because Jake Paul does not have in good enough gas tank. That is the first reason. Second reason, Jake Paul has not been pressured by his opponent in any of his fights in the first round to the 2nd round. That would be a new territory for Jake Paul. So has Tommy Fury, but Tommy Fury has enough amateur background in order to deal with that. Tommy Fury has fought 12 times as an amateur and won 11. That is not good enough, but that is decent enough or more than what Jake Paul has experienced in his life. It is not good if he was facing a proper boxer. Yes, it wouldn't be good enough if he was facing a proper boxer with 12 amateur fights and 8 professional fights. But he is facing Jake Paul, who has had none. So that is more than enough experience that Jake Paul has. Jake Paul has been an athlete all his life. He was a wrestler whilst growing up, but that is not good enough. Being a wrestler gives you how to deal with combat sports, etc. But most people Jake Paul has faced have been people who are in MMA, and in MMA, their footwork are not as good as boxers. Someone who has good footworks in MMA also looks out for the grapple and things. So their footworks are not as perfect as that of boxers. So all these things may be to the disadvantage of Jake Paul. Jake Paul has been built rightly fighting MMA guys, but I think the step up is just too much for Jake Paul. He should have fought a boxer, someone who does boxing as a hobby, then being built into coming into boxing. But facing Tommy Fury, a guy who wants to be a world champion, a guy who has been sparring bigger men whilst growing up, I don't think it is an ideal situation for Jake Paul. And most of Jake Paul's opponents don't attack him, like I've said. They don't attack him from the get-go, and some don't even throw jabs. And I think Anderson Silva threw 13 jabs in the whole 8 rounds. And I think Tommy Fury would throw more than 13 jabs. And if Tommy Fury ends up throwing a lot of jab, how will Jake Paul deal with that? Wadley also did not throw enough jabs in their first fight. I think even in the first round, Wadley did not even land a jab. All these things may go. You think you have both confidence, but when the fight is brought to you, how would you react? Tommy Fury has an advantage because he has been with his brother. He has been preparing. He has been with his brother whilst he has been prepared throughout camp, and he knows what goes into preparing for a great championship fight. That experience in which Jake Paul does not have. Those kinds of experience are not bought with money. You have to feel it in order to know it. Yeah, so those are some of the disadvantage. And I don't trust the gas tank of Jake Paul because he hasn't been put under pressure from the first bell to the last bell. And if he is put under pressure, I think Jake Paul will crack. And if Jake Paul was wobbled greatly by Wadley, I think Tommy Fury would hurt him real bad and get him out of there. Tommy has enough experience that when he puts Jake Paul on the wall, throwing 6, 7, 8 combination to get him out of there, because Jake Paul has not been under that circumstances with an 8-ounce gloves on. And how would he react to all those situations? I'm not saying Tommy Fury is the best of the best, but his experience in the boxing ring is much of Jake Paul's. Tommy Fury may have been fighting people with over 100 losses, but those people have been fighting boxing. Their stats are better than that of MMA fighters. I've watched some of their fights, and you could see that Wadley doesn't have a good feet. Yes, so let's take a look at Tyrone Sponge does not have a good feet because he transitioned from MMA to boxing. So does Dillian White. It is difficult to make the switch from MMA to boxing and get your footwork right. Yes, because the MMA one, whilst you are doing it at a younger stage, becomes second nature to you, and you'll find yourself wobbling. So all these things goes against the opponents of Jake Paul. Whilst Tommy Fury's opponents would have better footwork, they may not be the best of the best, but because they've been practicing boxing for a longer period, they would have a better opponent than an MMA fighter who is also standing in a boxing stance. Will be looking out for for a grapple or a wrestle. So all those things goes against Jake Paul. For this reason, when the pressure is put on Jake Paul right from round one, I think Jake Paul, though a very brave guy, would crack under pressure. And Tommy Fury seems to have a better chin than Jake Paul, because Tommy Fury, I've not seen him really hurt in any of his fight, but Jake Paul has been hurt in his fight. So all these things amount to the fact that I think Tommy Fury stops Jake Paul in the 7th round. So this is my take. Let me know yours. Thank you for watching. Remember, subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.